Hi, I'm Nick from the Barrel Outlet, and we're going to show you how we glass bed rifles here at the Barrel Outlet. I was taught this technique a little over 30 years ago by a guy, a really good gunsmith up in Denver named George Orndorff. Worked with Ike Starks at a place called Sports West. There are several different kinds of glass bedding compounds that you can use. There's Brownells Acraglas, there's Marine Tex, Bisonite. Opinions vary on which one you should use. For this job here, we're going to use Acraglas that we got from Brownells Acraglas gel. There's nothing wrong with Marine Tex, nothing wrong with Bisonite. It's all what you prefer to use best. Any one of the three will give a good job. James does our woodwork here in the shop, and so without further ado, let me get James to show you guys how we do it here.
Hi, I'm James from the Barrel Outlet. We have done all of our prep work ahead of time. We've gone through, removed finish from everywhere that you want your glass bedding to be at, and have taped off everywhere you don't want your glass bedding to be at. Along with removing the finish, we've used a Dremel tool and put striations to give the wood some teeth to hold on to the Acraglas. So in prepping your barreled action, we've puttied off with just modeling clay everywhere that we don't want the Acraglas to be, that could also create a mechanical lock and give you trouble when pulling the action out of the stock. We've also waxed everything. I'll repeat that, wax everything. You're going to have sticky hands, so you're going to be touching things. You don't want the Acraglas to get where you don't want it, and you also want to be able to remove the stock. We use a Johnson's paste wax, just a clear paste wax available at most hardware stores. It works great as a release agent, and when it comes down to cleaning the stock afterwards, or cleaning the action afterwards, if you have anything that's stuck on there, you can heat it up and the wax will just release any little bits of Acraglas that are stuck to it. Now, at this point, we free floated the barrel in the stock already and made sure that the action was inletted properly. This rifle had a little wiggle room in it as far as centering the barrel in the barrel channel, so we've added some tape to give it thickness so that it'll sit centered in the barrel channel. Alright, so now we're going to mix up our Acraglas. We want to use equal parts as per instructions. You want to be very accurate in this. and level scoops. One way will cause it to harden too fast if you add too much hardener. If you don't add enough, you run the risk of it not hardening all the way. Always mix more than you need. You don't want to have to be mixing to get a little bit more afterwards. As far as mixing goes, I like to clean up between products. That way you don't cross-contaminate your products and end up having some hard Acraglas in your containers. Alright, so now that we have equal parts, we'll mix for 2 whole minutes, ensuring that we get a good consistent blend. Alright, so now we've mixed our Acraglas very well for 2 whole minutes, and more stirring is better than less. You've got plenty of time to work with this stuff, so make sure that it's consistent. Once you have a good consistent mix, we're going to add some Acraglas brown dye to match the stock as best we can. Now you don't want to overcolor it and have it too dark, so add a little bit, stir it in real well. We've got our color pretty close. Some stocks are redder than others, but the best you can do is good. You really only see a hairline of it on the side of the receiver. So I think we're ready to start applying. So what you want to do is start with just a little bit on your craft stick or whatever your applicator is. You want to work it in to all the crevices to make sure that you don't have any bubbles. I always start with just a little bit to get all the surfaces coated, and then I'll come back and add more for thickness. You want to make sure you're working all the bubbles out. You have plenty of working time with Acraglas, so be thorough. Make sure you get it everywhere. So now that all of our surfaces are coated and we're pretty certain we've worked all the air out of there, we'll start adding for thickness. The squeeze out is the name of the game here. You always want more than not enough. Alright, so now we're going to take our thoroughly waxed parts. If you can fit your magazine in from the bottom, it'll help keep some of that bedding compound from squeezing down out. So you want to go straight down in. Slowly push the receiver in to squeeze all that acraglas out the sides. And once it's seated in there well, you can loosely insert your guard screws just to hold everything in place. So now that everything's held in place, tighten those guard screws down, alternating so that it squeezes in evenly. Until you're nice and snug. Alright. Now you can go in, remove some of this excess, just to make cleanup easier later. Cleaning all this up will also ensure that you don't get a mechanical lock of the acraglas grabbing any particular parts. After about 3 to 4 hours, you want to keep an eye on the acraglas. Once it gets to where it's kind of holding form, you loosen your guard screws a hair and then put the tip into the guard screw and gently tap it with a hammer until your receiver breaks free, and then pulling straight up, you should be able to just pop the guy out like so. We'll set that to the side. Then with a fresh X-Acto knife, you want to go in and trim everything at the wood line very gently and carefully. Just removing enough to where it's not a pain later to file this stuff back. And this is why we pop it out while it's still soft, to be able to do all the cleanup easily with a blade rather than having to file this stuff back for days. So now we also want to remove our trigger guard and the magazine. This sometimes requires the use of a punch and a hammer to very gently try to work it loose. All you're doing at this point is removing material that you will clean up with a file later, but will save you plenty of time in filing by cutting it away now. And we'll also hit the trigger recess as well. See a rest in the little recess here that doesn't go all the way through. We'll just try to remove some of that. All these places that I'm pulling Acraglas away from, I did not remove the finish from, so that the Acraglas will, for the most part, peel off of it. And that'll save us a great deal of work with the Dremel and file later. We want to peel all this stuff back so that it doesn't get folded under the receiver when we put the receiver back in. And if we're all trimmed up good, we'll get rid of the larger chunks of Acraglas on all of our parts, which should peel right off if you've waxed everything generously. Getting it super clean at this point isn't critical, just getting the chunks out of the way. That's why the wax is so important, or release agent. Makes life a whole lot easier. We can leave all that. We'll just scrape away anything on the outside at the wood line. Alright, oh, forgot one thing. I'm going to go ahead and take care of the Acraglas in the barrel channel, which is cutting away at your tape line here. You're still a little soft. Now we want to put the receiver back in, straight up and down, ensuring that we don't bind up on the recess for the recoil lug. Put all of our parts back in. Tighten it on down. Want it nice and tight. You could even torque your screws to their torque spec, because this is going to be the final resting place of the receiver in the glass. So from there, we'll peel away the excess tape so that it doesn't stick to your stock and let it sit for 24 hours.